So my best friend channeled my mom's soul while my mom was alive, and it really did change our life because our goal as souls is to learn to love unconditionally. Since she died, she has sent a cardinal to my window for 12 years.
Wow.
When I'm channeling an animal, it's just what is so in this moment? What does my human need for this moment? How can I bring them healing? How can I bring them peace?
Why do animals choose to be food for humans?
If we keep our eyes open and pay attention, there are messages that those animals are bringing us all the time. The message is not, everything's okay here, because it's not. It's, hey, do you see me? Do you feel me? Because you are me. She is endless generosity and love. There's nothing that is shaking that. She is suffering because she too, just like the animals, would like us to awaken. The thing that breaks our heart the most, that's the thing where we came here in service to. But I can channel Gaia, and she leaves me feeling just energized and loved and, like you said, hugged and held. What if I can't channel? What if I'm not a divine, accessible being? What if there's dark energy? You do have to take responsibility for your energetic hygiene if you want to channel from the highest love. We have some very young souls in very powerful positions. And when you are a young soul, your focus is yourself.
Who admitted the young souls into this institution? Stephanie, thank you so much for joining the Celestevolve podcast. I've read your book as well as got to know that you got into channeling through your mother. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
So I know everybody has a little bit of a different understanding of it, but for me, channeling is just connecting to divine energy and wisdom. And we can do that with one another on a soul level. So when my mom was in her late 40s, early 50s, she had dementia. She was diagnosed with a type of dementia that affects younger people. And it was making our relationship really difficult, obviously, because the communication was breaking apart and we were getting frustrated with her, with one another. And I was finding that I really wasn't being the sort of daughter that I wanted to be to her. And so I had a best friend at the time who was a very gifted channeler. She could connect with souls that were here on the planet. And I asked her to channel my mom for me so that I could ask the questions that were on my heart that my mom couldn't answer, but really illuminate what our souls are here to do together and where I'm getting it right and where I'm getting it wrong and how we can sort of have a relationship healing and transformation. So my best friend channeled my mom's soul while my mom was alive, and I learned the answers to all of those things. And it really did change our life and our experience of one another forever. My mom's on the other side now, and we probably have the best relationship we've ever had. but luckily I also got the opportunity to heal so much with her while we were here doing the 3-dimensional life together. So I came to channeling out of a necessity and a desire to preserve this relationship and to protect what we had together. And after I saw what it could do for me and my mom, I thought, oh my gosh, what else? Where else can I apply this? And if I learn to channel for myself and I don't have to bother my best friend all the time, then who else might I channel and what would I ask about and how would this impact my other relationships? So I learned to do this. And because I learned to do it, I know that anyone who wants to, who is willing to invest the time and the practice, can as well. So now I teach it as well as channel for people around the world.
Often when it comes to our loved ones, that's when we get that strong motivation to want to learn to channel, if it can better the relationship. How did channeling shift your relationship with your mother emotionally or spiritually?
Oh, it shifted it on every level. So I was doing things like if she got confused and we went outside for a walk and it was 95 degrees outside, which is normal where I live. It's very, very hot and tropical. And she would say that she needed a sweater. I would try to reason with her and explain why she does not need a sweater. And through the channeling, what she was explaining to me from her soul is that when I try to correct her or when I try to force her to live in my reality or my moment, it is a point of disconnection. And it's very hard for us to come back from that, because even though it doesn't make sense for her to bring a sweater on a very hot outdoor walk, that's what was in her her psyche at the moment. So if she was asking me from her soul, can you just go along? Can you just follow my lead? Can you just create some space around whatever is true and real for me in that moment, so we have even more room for connection? So then I learned I just go get her the sweater. We don't have to have a discussion or an argument about it. I also learned where I was getting in the way and interfering in her relationship with my father. I thought I was being helpful. And
Okay.
actually, I wasn't. I was creating more separation for her from him. And they had a separate soul agreement than what I have with my parents. So she was basically saying, back off, sister. Like, this is about me and him. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to intervene. He is showing up in service to me the way we agreed before we even knew you. So that was very
Mm.
humbling as well. Channeling let me let go
Mm.
of what wasn't mine. And it allowed me to embrace what could be possible in a relationship that had become very complicated with dementia, but also it's mother-daughter, so it's complicated by nature anyway, isn't it?
It is. I can't even call it me channeling because I see professional channelers like yourself, so I can't even compare it to you. But even I have begun to see the same thing where if I try to channel the higher self of my loved ones, the answer that comes through is also the same thing. Don't try to interfere too much. Let them be. They
Yes.
have their own intuition too. What does
Yes.
it feel like in your energy body or in your body when you are channeling your mother?
Channeling to me always feels like joy and light and humor and love. That's
Mm.
it. And I have to be clear, though, I am only channeling from what's known as fifth dimensional consciousness. So that's unity consciousness. It's the highest vibrational loving frequency. So that assures me that when I go into the spirit realm, I am met with the purest of spirit, which is joy and love and humor and excitement. Really, there's a lot of excitement when we tune into souls that have been waiting very patiently, or spirit guides that have been waiting very patiently for our conversation, for our invitation with them. So that's what it feels like. It feels light. Sometimes when I do groups of a lot of people and there's a lot of different energies I'm channeling, people ask me, aren't you so depleted? Aren't you so exhausted?
Mm.
It's tiring, but not because of the souls. It's really the attention that's required, the focus, the concentration, because you really need to be fully focused when you're allowing these messages to come through. And that alone is exhausting because, we're losing our attention span by the minute.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that is so true because right now with just like Instagram, oh my God, they said that the goldfish has an 8 second attention span, and ours has become like 2 seconds or 3 seconds. It's that bad.
It's rough. And I'm no different. There's so many distractions and distracting thoughts. That's why if you want to learn to channel, you need to practice, because this is something you can master. You can master where your attention goes. You can master deep listening. You can master deep presence. And those are requirements for clear channeling.
Hmm. When you started to channel for your mother and your mother started to come through, she must have given you a lot of insights into aging, illness, and soul's journey. How did that change your perspective on aging, illness, and soul's journey?
Yeah. Well, most of the wisdom when my mom was living did come through my best friend channeling her. It took me years before I learned to attune to her in a way that I could trust. But what I learned from her soul, whether it was through my best friend or eventually through myself, is that um, all of us come here with we have the same goal, because our goal as souls is to learn to love unconditionally. That's what I have
Hmm.
gleaned from my many years of channeling. But the way we play that out is in relationships. And relationships are sometimes our greatest joy and sometimes our greatest challenge. And the nature of the relationships we call in says a lot about what we are here to grow. And what my mom taught me is that some souls are here to be served. And in my, I have a very server oriented aspect to myself. So I feel like I am meant to be in service all the time. So to hear a soul that's here to be served and not to actually just, externally serve others outwardly was surprising to me. And that's how she was meant to live her journey, live this earthly journey. And the people she called in, her father, her brothers, me, her husband, my father, these were all energies that we'd agreed ahead of time. Yes, dear soul, we will come in service to you and what you're here to experience. So she didn't talk much about aging because that wasn't her thing. She passed when she was just 66. So she didn't get to the place where we could call her elder, really. But what she did share with me was we are actually here to love deeply and fully. And there's so much growth to come from tapping into that sort of love. She also taught me how to appreciate the natural world. You and I were speaking just a while before the show about our love for trees.
Yeah.
And nature. And my mom was a lover of nature. She loved birds. In fact, since she died, it's been 12 years, she has sent a cardinal to my window for 12 years.
Wow. That's so magical.
I have done research, what is the lifespan of a cardinal? Could this be the same bird? He comes to the same window all day long, pecks at it, watches me. It's so amazing.
That's beautiful. Do you think different animals have different kind of frequencies or energies?
Yes, I do. And I do believe that that animals are messengers for us. So there's websites dedicated to this. So if I see a raccoon or I see a bunny or something, I will quickly, if I have my phone, I'll look up what is the significance of bunny spirit animal, rabbit spirit animal. And there are characteristics of each animal and generalized messages that they're here to share with us. In fact, there's an iguana that keeps finding its way into my patio. And it only stresses me out because there's nothing for her to eat there. So I start feeling empathic for her hunger and worry about her well-being. And she's come back multiple times now. And so I looked it up, and iguana energy is about transformation and wisdom and being fully present in the moment. So she's reminding me what's important to me right now. That's what I believe. That's what I follow. That's what I live.
When you look into animals, or animals touch our soul in a very profound way that even sometimes humans cannot. What part of us do you think they are mirroring back?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it depends on the animal. I know I have 4 dogs. I have a bit of an issue.
And you love elephants too.
I love elephants. I love giraffes. The whole, any species is my jam. With my dogs, they are reflecting back to me the purest, most centered and grounded love. And they also mirror back to me when my energetics are off. So when I have anxiety, they start to act a little different too. It doesn't mean they have anxiety, but I can see in their behavior how the energy I'm holding is being mirrored to me. And then in terms of the animals in the wild, I don't know. I think it just sort of depends on where we're at, but they do mirror and they do reflect, and they are opportunities for us to pay more attention to ourselves and check in more often and get more clear about what's true about our internal, our inner landscape.
When animals communicate with you, how does it feel like in your energy body?
It feels awesome.
Really?
It's because they're not complicated. Souls that are here in the human experience, we're complicated. We have so many lifetimes that we are that we have already existed. It's that's not necessarily not the case for animals, but we have so many weird behaviors as humans, and we can say one thing and do the opposite. We can have a
Mm,
facial expression that shows happiness, and we could be desperate, deeply despairing inside. Animals never do that. They never
yeah.
mask. They never, just mimic something for the sake of it. What you get from them is pure and is true. So you can trust. I have full trust, much more trust in animals than I do many humans.
When you channel the animals and the humans, right? Do you see sometimes the messages that come through when you channel the humans are distorted when
I would
compared to
say
animals?
that's a good question. I would say they're more complicated. Sometimes it takes me, I have to spend a little bit more time teasing apart what I'm being shown and what's
Oh,
coming through. But I never have to do that with animals. So a human might be a soul that is having a human experience might be sharing with me a lot of different visions of the people in their life or their sphere and how they're playing out their soul's journey. And I can pull it all together in a more comprehensive picture, but it takes me some, again, focus and attention and effort to do so. When I'm channeling an animal, there's not any element of that. It's just what is so in this moment. What does my human need for this moment? How can I bring them healing? How can I bring them peace? Because especially our companion animals are here for that. They help us grow, but also ultimately they're here for our well-being. They are here in service.
recently a friend of mine asked me, she's a vegetarian, and she was seeing the animals being taken to get slaughtered. And she was like, isn't this going to be super painful, incredibly painful for them? Why did they choose lives like this? Why do animals choose to be food for humans?
So I actually don't believe they choose to be food for humans.
Really? Okay.
I believe that humans are exerting control, right? This is how we are making our choices. We have free will and we get to make choices, and all of our actions do have um, a consequence to them. So I'm speaking in today's modern agricultural way of farming or animal agriculture, which is without question atrocious and is
Mm,
deeply, deeply damaging, not just to animals, but to land and actually to ourselves. So it's not that the animals are choosing this existence, because it is an existence of it's a torturous existence. Nobody can argue that. If you learn about what goes on and how they're treated, you cannot say, well, it's not that bad. It actually is. It's that bad.
mm,
And they're not choosing that, but we are exerting this on them. And what they are willing to do is to, one, like I said, to serve. And also, they are sort of willing us to awaken, because it does not have to be this way. This does not have to
mm,
be how people are fed. This is not a requirement. There's a total disconnect in how we are treating animals that are raised for human consumption and how we treat our dogs and cats that are in our homes. And yet they're, it's speciesism essentially. So this is a whole rabbit hole to go down.
yeah.
And I'm not neutral here because I love animals and I love the planet. And I know that this is not something that is a foregone conclusion. We can make changes here and we can show the respect and honor to an animal that does give its life for, human consumption or food. And that's the change that needs to be made. But if we keep our eyes open and pay attention, there are messages that those animals are bringing us all the time. And the message is not everything's okay here, because it's not. It's, hey,
Mm,
do you see me? Do you feel
mm,
me? Because you are me. We're not different from each other. We're not separate. That's a way we've been cultured to believe. That's a societal conditioning. But I feel the despair of all living beings. And not everybody is quite as empathic, but the human heart is meant to feel. And so on some level we do.
Hmm. I mean, in the spiritual community, everything is neutral. So the
Mhm.
fact that you said that you are not neutral about it and you care about the animals and they are, it reminds me of the same situation which is happening with the war
Mm.
prone countries and the attention that they are asking us to focus on so that we can try to avoid it. There's something that we could be doing about it. So that's beautiful. You also channel Mother Gaia. And I
Mm.
know plants, when I try to speak to plants, I can actually feel them hugging me. You know, I can feel it in my energy and my soul. Um, my question is, have you ever felt the energy of Mother Gaia withdrawn or heavy? And what did you do then?
I don't feel her ever withdrawn.
Wow.
And yeah, and she does not feel heavy to me at all. She is endless generosity and love. And her love for her children, because whenever I channel her, she calls us her children, um, is complete. Like it's there's nothing that is shaking that, or nothing that could, as disconnected as we can be and as harmful as our behaviors have been. This is a pure love, a true mother's love. So that's how I channel her. Having said that, she is suffering. Again, you'd have to be blind to not,
Yeah.
completely unaware to not see and know this. So she does share the truth of her suffering because she too, just like the animals, would like us to awaken. This is an invitation. Let's see. Let's open our eyes to what's actually occurring here and what is our part to do. So the reason I'm not neutral in this entire arena is because my soul is here in service to the planet and all the life upon her. I know this for sure. Not every soul has the same purpose. Like that's a rather grand umbrella for me
Yeah.
to be operating with, but I'm here and I'm here to serve in that. But for other people, they're in service. Maybe it's the plight of children, or like you said, war zones. Um,
Hmm.
those who, mental health, those who need, like the trees, right? There are those who are here literally as souls in service to trees. And thank goodness
Hmm.
for them. For others, it's animals, like humanity, it doesn't matter. But once we discover what's ours to do, that thing that breaks our heart the most, that's the thing where we came here in service to, I believe. It doesn't mean we have to walk around brokenhearted all the time. Like I said, I can channel Gaia and she leaves me feeling just energized and loved and, like you said, hugged and held.
Yeah.
So that can occur at the same time as what's true also, which is that we're creating unnecessary suffering and we can change that.
Hmm. In fact, I was raised a Christian, so I always prayed to God, the Heavenly Father, and Jesus. But I've never felt the sort of unconditional love. It was so palpable, so real when I started speaking with Mother Gaia. I mean, I can't even understand what exactly is happening, but I felt it. We are going through this collective rebirth right now. That's what I hear all the channelers and the intuitives saying. What is Mother Gaia teaching us about grief and rebirth right now?
Mm. What she's always teaching that I feel through the channeled messages is how we can love from the grand, which we kind of hear about, right? Religion teaches a grand sort of all-encompassing love, and a lot of spiritual teachings do as well. But Earth gives us this opportunity to love the teeniest, tiniest of creatures. So
Yeah.
I'll stop on a walk if there's a worm in the middle of the sidewalk, and I will move the worm to dirt so that it can survive. Like that. And this is her. I know that Mother Earth wants us to love the great and the grand and the small that which
Mm.
goes invisible, that which goes unnoticed. Because when we can learn to love all, that is when humans come into their truth, their real essence. And that's when we're in non-separation. So that is constantly what I hear her inviting us to. Notice my insects, notice my birds, notice my worms, notice the smallest of creatures that we're not inclined or educated to notice, and be in love with that, because when you're in love with those, you're in love with me, which is Mother Earth. There's no separation.
Yeah, that's true. So when it comes to channeling, is it possible for everybody to channel, or has it got anything at all to do with their DNA or soul contract?
I, s- I always say if somebody wants to learn to channel and is willing to put in the training, the hours of focus and practice, yes, I've never seen anyone in any of my classes who cannot channel. I've
Mm.
only seen people who astonish themselves with what comes through, with, oh my gosh, my pendulum is moving, or oh my gosh, I just got a message, or oh my goodness, I'm just writing and writing and writing, and I'm not even thinking about what I'm writing. So yeah, it's my belief that this is our birthright. And that doesn't mean everybody's going to channel like me or like you. That's not important. What's important is that
Mm.
they channel like them. And channeling is tapping into that, to our own divinity. It's pulling away that separation of like, well, I can only do this if I'm skilled with language, or if I'm born with some sort of gift. I do not believe that. I've seen enough. I don't consider myself having been born with some unique or unusual gift. I just decided to use the gifts I have and apply them into the realm of channeling, and I got quite good at it.
Mm. Speaking about gifts, what are some of the gifts that people have, and how can we identify them?
Mm. Gosh, there are so many. So I'm going to use you as an example, Tanya. One of your gifts that you have kindly shared in our time together is your ability to channel trees, to connect with plants. That's a gift. Not
Mm.
everybody has that, and not everybody has the inclination to do that, the interest in it, or the awareness of that possibility. So that is
Mm.
something you were imbued with, thank goodness, and you can now share that. Joy, isn't it? Is it joyful for you? I don't want to put
Oh,
words in,
absolutely.
right?
Absolute total joy. It's magical. It's magical.
Exactly. And I would go a step further and say that's not only for you. When you feel joy and magic, I believe that is meant to be rippled outward to our
Mm.
people, our family, our friends, our community, because they then carry it out to the world. Everything is a ripple effect that extends to places and people and beings that we will never ever see or know about while we're here in this third dimension. But that's one of the gifts. Of course, another gift is those who have highly empathic abilities that in any direction. So there's endless ways to be an empath. You can be an emotional empath with other humans and feel the emotional state of others. That can feel rather burdensome, but you can learn to use that to your benefit, and to allow you to be even in deeper connection with others. You could be a plant empath, which I dare say you likely are. You can be an animal empath. You can be a weather empath. Did you know that there are people
No.
who can feel?
Whoa.
Yes, I know. I know.
That must be hard. Isn't that hard? Because the weather is so unpredictable right now.
Right, especially in climate chaos, right? Whoa. But yeah, I mean, it's a thing. There's endless ways. There's physical empaths. So if you have a pain in your left elbow, an empath that has physical abilities would have pain in their left elbow and
Mm.
not know that it's not theirs, right? That they're picking up on what's inflammatory for you. And that can be used to be an amazing healer. Imagine if your massage therapist or your acupuncturist or whoever it is could feel in their body, oh, there's congestion here. Let me go ahead
Mm.
and place this needle here, or let me offer healing there. And those are the healers I tend to see, are the ones who actually have those gifts and abilities. And then there are people with very pragmatic gifts like technology. That's a gift, right? I don't have it. So, so I like to really value and honor the people whose technology abilities can help me in my business, and you in your podcast, and etc. So it's endless what we came here already fortified with, and it's also limitless what we can hone.
What could happen if the ones who have these gifts are not honing in on their gifts?
Mm-hmm. We usually come back again.
Oh, oh, the lesson.
I do like to tell people, like, try to do your work while you're here. Like,
Attend the class.
let's take a class. Like, live as fully into this incarnation as you possibly can, which means love deeply. And yeah, if you came here to do something and you don't do it in this incarnation, that's the good news and the bad news, I suppose, is you'll have more opportunities to play these things out and to complete karmic cycles and to serve in a way that is really meant for the greater good.
You had mentioned about your students having breakthroughs in their channeling process. Can you remember any of those that come to your head when you think about the breakthroughs that they've had, any limiting beliefs that they've had to get through?
Yeah, we always address limiting beliefs at the very beginning of all my courses and workshops, because if we can name it, right, then we discharge all of the hold that it has on us. So lots of the limiting beliefs are universal. Like, what if I can't channel? What if I'm not a divinely accessible being? What if there's dark energy around? These are very, very common universal fears around channeling. And then I address them all. You know, we talk about how we can be the highest vibrational vessels to receive the highest vibrational messages. You do have to take responsibility for your energetic hygiene if you want to channel from the highest love. You cannot come into channeling grumpy and fearful and, agitated and impatient and expect for only the highest guidance to find you and source you with what you need. That's just silly, right? It's not the way it works in the human relationship world either. So we address that, and that takes like the hold, the grasp out of the picture, and then we enter into an open-hearted space, which there are certain meditations and techniques and mantras and music that I use that are super effective for me, and they work really, really well with the people who take my classes, and that just allows us to expand. And then we can receive. And so some of the messages, there's one I'm thinking of in my last workshop a couple months ago. One of the participants received a visit from her grandfather who was on the other side. And he said to her, his wife, her grandmother, is getting closer to him. She's moving closer to her time to release and transition to the other side. And this dear woman was able to share with her family, and it brought a lot of peace. I'm feeling so many chills on my body right now. It brought her a lot of peace and understanding so that she could tell her family and they could prepare to support their beloved in this last bit of her life. And now she is on the other side. It actually happened very quickly. I would say within a couple of weeks of that message, her grandmother did release her body. And thankfully, the grandfather had prepared everybody and let them know she's fine. He's here. He's going to support her. And they were able to do their part as well. So that's possible. There are people who channel, who receive insights from their children. One of the big areas of my work is I channel for parents. And their kids could be very, very young, or they could be adult children, and still they're souls and they have their own path and their own journey. And they want to let us know as parents, where can we be supportive and where can we create more spaciousness for their growth and expansion? So that happens a lot too.
When you channel people who are living, when you channel their higher selves, for example, I have received conflicting messages from the higher self of the people that I channel and my own higher self.
Mm.
Does that happen? Why does that happen?
Well, one of the tricky things about channeling for ourselves is we're not neutral, right?
Yeah. Yes, we are not neutral.
We're
100%.
not
It is very difficult to be neutral. Yeah. It is very, that is correct. You've nailed it. Yeah. It is very
it's
extreme.
not only difficult, it's
Yeah.
impossible, I believe.
Mm,
So this is
yeah.
why we have professional channelers that don't know anyone in your family and don't have any attachments to anything, right? It's
Yeah.
the difference between handling all that we can for ourselves that's in the highest service and knowing where it gets sticky and where we need a neutral, skilled party to do their thing. We do the same thing with taking care of our health and then knowing when to see a doctor. We do the same thing with keeping our teeth clean and knowing when to see a dental hygienist. It's the same thing. So you want someone who has devoted their career time to learning to be a clear, neutral channel for others, because we are not a neutral channel for ourselves. We have attachments, we have desires, we want a certain outcome. That's what I would say.
Mm. What did your own resistance look like when you began pursuing channeling?
Well, my best friend was so gifted. I say was because she's on the other side now. But she probably will always be the best channeler I will ever meet. And so I had this comparison thing, right? Of
Yeah.
there's no way I'm going to be able to channel like her. There's no way anyone would want me to be the channeler if they have the option to have her. And I had to really work through that. It came from family of origin stuff of having a sister who was very academically gifted. And I did fine in
Yeah.
school, but compared to her, like,
I have two sisters too. Yeah, there's always the sort of comparison. Yeah.
exactly. And even teachers would say to me, I expect great things from you because I had your sister. And that's not fair. That's
No,
just
absolutely not.
fair because I might not be a chemist, but look what I am, right? It's pretty amazing. I'm pretty badass in my own way.
Yes.
So there were times, that just came from that part of me and of course the entire comparison culture that we are within. So it's easy to see where that came from, but I had to work through that, those insecurities. And luckily this friend saw my gifts and she said, I'm not at all concerned. Like you're already channeling. Your channeling is clear. You keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't worry about having it look like anything or anyone else. So she encouraged me a lot and I found my stride with it and I found my gifts and skills with it. And I'm really, really pleased that I continued to work with myself in that way, because if I had given up or said, never mind, I'll never be as good as her, I'll just stick with my speech pathology work, which was also fun when I was doing it, I would have missed out on so much.
What was the difference between the way she was channeling and the way you were channeling, and what made you think she was really good at it?
What's awesome is that I feel like I channel so similarly to her. So the only reason I thought she was better than me was because I hadn't yet done it. I didn't yet have my own path to claim, right? I wasn't coming to the friendship also being a channel. I was coming to the friendship having no clue what channeling was, and then watching her do it and then wanting to learn and feeling like, boy, that seems so far off. Like, how could she be this good? How long is it going to take me to get that good? And do I have that long to live?
You work with the pendulum and the crystals. Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't know how to use it.
Okay, I'll tell you really quick. And what's your crystal?
I think it's a quartz.
Nice. Awesome. So when you bought it, when you picked it out, did you hold it and see if it felt like it had good movement and a good weight when you held it, or did you just order it online?
I just ordered it online.
Okay, cool.
I checked in the stores, by the way, but I didn't understand the difference between, I did try to see, okay, it's just speaking to me, but no one really spoke to me. So,
Okay. Okay. So the way I teach it is we start really, really basic with establishing what your yes and your no response is going to be. Because you can go really far with questions when you learn to ask them in a yes or no format.
okay.
So, what you can choose whichever movement you want for yes or no, but what I do recommend is clockwise for yes and counterclockwise for no. So we probably don't have tons of time to do this on your show.
Oh, yours is moving
Yes.
so much.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And
I
yours,
have to look at it from a microscope for it to see if it's
so
moving or
this is why I asked, like, did you hold it first? Because there is something important to the weight of it. And if yours has a good weight, you'll feel the gravity of it pulling down, and it will also give really good movement and momentum to, yeah, mine's excited.
Mike, that is so clear. I've never seen anything move so much. That is next level.
Well, it's both of our energy, like infusing it. So it's going to have more, more movement. But that's what you'll do. You'll sit in a quiet space. You will first clear and cleanse your pendulum. Did you do that? Maybe with some sage or maybe putting it out in the full moonlight. You want to do
No.
that because if it came through
Okay.
the mail, right? There's all sorts of
Mm.
energy there. You want it just to be clear for your own energy and the energy of your guides and your ancestors that you're calling through. So cleanse it first with some sage or with some Palo Santo or outside in the moonlight. Some people put it in the sunlight too. Don't put it in water. It can rust. You don't know what the metal is. Um,
Does the
and then
crystal matter?
no, it's fine. The crystal doesn't
Hmm.
matter. If you have a particular connection to a crystal, like this is amethyst and I happen to love it and also goes with my outfit. But I'm a bit of a collector of pendulums. So I also have turquoise and I also have, other beautiful things. This is actually a necklace that a client made that doubles as a pendulum. So you can
Wow.
always have your pendulum with you. And there's an elephant on it, as you can see.
Oh, that's perfect.
Your guides will tell you, your higher self will tell you what's the material that's going to have the clearest and best movement. That's the question you'll ask. And then you can just say, is it rose quartz? And
Mm.
mine's a no. So then
It
you
showed no too. Can you show the
correct.
yes and the no from your
Yeah.
crystal?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was no because it went counterclockwise.
Yes.
Is the stone that supports my highest clarity a amethyst?
Yep. It's
Yeah.
going clockwise. So in case a crystal is not moving according to how it's not moving, like mine, for example,
Yeah.
has it got anything to do with my energy or my belief or any blockages in me?
Sometimes, but sometimes it's
Mm.
just not your tool. Sometimes that's just not your crystal. So if you go through the process of clearing and cleansing it, and then you do
Mm.
your inner work to bring your greatest, most expanded self to the table, and then you invoke the presence. So you have to decide, where am I getting my answers from? You don't just put it out there to the great grand
Mm.
universe, right? Because there's denser energies and there's higher energies. So you want the highest vibrational loving energy. So maybe you'll call in your higher self. Maybe you will call in an ancestor that you feel deeply connected and loving to. Maybe you'll call in your spirit guides. You have spirit guides that will help you with your pendulum channeling. So you can call
Mm.
them in and you can say all of the information to my questions. I would like the origin of that to come from my higher self or my guides of channeling. Sometimes I have class participants who have tried for like a month in my classes with their pendulum and they're not getting good movement and they don't feel the connection. I'll say, go buy another one. Just go buy
Mm.
another one. And they're not because they don't work. They're beautiful. I love them. Just, it might just not be your tool. And then you find another one. And this is usually what happens. Someone's like, oh my God, I didn't know it could move like this. So that's yours.
Mm. Do you think these kind of tools can ever block you more than help you?
It's very easy to put too much stock into what the pendulum is saying. This is a
Mm.
common mistake. So people will say, should I marry Johnny? Right?
100%.
Like,
Yes,
such a bad thing to ask your pendulum.
that is correct.
Again, you're not neutral. So I steer people away from asking deeply personal questions to which they have an attachment. And that's pretty much any deeply personal question you could ask. And the language of your question is everything. You don't say should for any question with your pendulum. Instead, you say, does it serve my highest good to whatever? Or does it serve the highest good of all for this or for that? And then you're going to get really what you want to know, because should is not even something that could be answered. It's actually a swear word in my vocabulary.
Should is this okay, that makes sense, because you're like, do you want to learn the lesson or not, right?
Oh, should I? Because then if I don't, or I opt not to, then I've done something wrong or something bad. And yeah, we're always shitting on other people, right?
When I try to channel, the message that comes through is slow. Does this sort of slowness mean there is resistance, or is it refinement?
Well, I would ask you. What does
Pointed
it?
back at me, right?
Yeah. What's your first answer? Is this directive for me to slow my pace, or is it for my refinement? And they don't have to be exclusive.
Right now, I'm getting both of the things because my ego is in the way and I'm very extreme. So I'm not getting any answer right now.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, if we were in a less pressured, non-recorded conversation
position, I'm like, will Stephanie give me 100 marks or not?
Right. Then I would have said to you, I would have asked you the question, and I would have said the first answer, the very first one that comes to you. And I think I know what that one was. And it's actually the one you gave, is my sense for it, that it's both. It's the pace and it's the refinement. We cannot have refinement without slowing down. I don't believe. No refinement occurs at breakneck speed, only accidents and mistakes and errors and stepping on toes. And so, yeah, I would sense that it's both. And we could also, if we were working together, we'd ask your pendulum, is it this? Yes or no? And then you'd get your answer. And then you'd say, is it this? You'd ask the other one, yes or no. And that could come through very, very clearly. And ultimately, does it matter? If the advice is slow down, then slow down and reap the benefits of awareness and refinement and presence and everything that only happens when we slow our roll.
You had spoken about how important discernment is. Has there ever been a situation in your life or when you were channeling where your discernment said you shouldn't do it, but then you continued anyway? And was there a consequence?
Always.
Always.
I don't always follow the advice of my higher self or my guides. Like, I'm not always.
I love that, the last few channelers that I bring on, they say the same thing. I don't listen to the advices. I'm like, what is this? What's happening with the rebel channelers now? Okay.
Yeah, we are a rebellious group. Yeah, it's like if you have another person in your life who always gives you the greatest counsel ever. Do you always follow their counsel? Of course you don't. Sometimes you're simply not ready. You know that that's in your best interest, but you are not ready. I have had counsel, wise, sage advice from my spirit team for years about a relationship that I needed to complete. And I wasn't ready for years until I was. And they're not impatient. They're not like, gosh, girl, what took you so long? They're like, oh, good. You took care of yourself along the way. We kept telling you, this is what's for you. This is what is in the highest service. And now that you are robust and ready and you are settled in who you are ready to make this change. It's a massive change to end a relationship. Massive, sometimes, depending on the relationship. So that's just an example. Yeah. My guides are always like laughing at me like, well, we'll tell you, but you're not going to do it. So, so we'll tell you so you know, and then you can decide what you decide. But they love me unconditionally, no matter. And eventually I do come around to bringing myself into a place where I'm ready to follow what what I know is in the highest service. And for the most part, I am in a time in my life where my intuition is so present and so powerful and so strong. I just follow that exclusively.
You also spoke about how these days the right hemisphere is underdeveloped for a lot of the people, and the left brain is what is developed. What do you think a fully right activated society would look like?
Well, we would live in harmony with each other. I wouldn't be comparing myself to you because that's a left brain function. I would see you as the beautiful light being that you are. And I would wonder, where'd you get your lipstick so that I can have that color too? And I wouldn't see it as a threat. I would see as, wow, how beautiful. I would be curious, curiosity, right hemisphere, right? All knowingness, left hemisphere, fact based, left hemisphere. So I'd be curious about you. I would have a natural inclination to nurture others, to share, because I'd be coming from abundance, not restriction or scarcity.
Yeah.
So it'd be a totally different world. It's the one I will continue to hold the vision of because I know we can do it.
Yes. We see a lot of problems happening in the world. There's a lot of wars going on right now, even in Iran. What do you think is happening? And have you tapped into the collective energies or the energy of the people in power for you to understand what is happening right now?
I have been asked to channel for certain world leaders, not channel for them like they asked me, like people have asked me to channel their higher self. What I can speak to in a more recent one that I've channeled is that we have some very young souls in very powerful positions. And when you are a young soul, which we all have been, so there's no shade being thrown to young souls, but your focus is yourself. You haven't had very many lifetimes, right? We're talking young, like number of incarnations that you've had. And then you have mature souls and you have old souls. And when by the time you're an old soul, you're coming back here to teach. You're in service to life and humanity. So when young souls have positions of power and leadership, and their orientation is by nature for themselves and their personal gain, we will see a lot of what we're seeing. And that makes sense. It's not great. It's enormously problematic because it is not in service to the collective of humanity or the planet. In fact, it's the opposite of being in the highest service. However, what do we expect from a young soul being given power that they perhaps don't know how to wield for the betterment of all?
Who admitted the young souls into this institution? It could have been avoided.
I mean, girl, some people are voting them in, so, you know.
Stephanie, it's been such pleasure speaking with you. You're joyful, just like how you described your mom in the book, too. You know, mom, you said mom has the weirdest laugh. You don't, but it just reminds me of your mom's energy when you're just laughing and enjoying it. I've had such pleasure talking to you and so much joy. Do you have any final advice for the listeners of this podcast episode?
I would invite people to trust their heart. There's so much intuition coming from the heart. So that is, I believe, the most intelligent organ. I know we're all focused on the brain, but do some research on what the heart actually does and knows, and the electric field that it holds. Oh, it'll blow your mind. Haha. See how I did that? Pleasure being here with you too.
Please tell us where we can find you and the beautiful work that you do.
Yeah, so my website is soulinsight.com, and I'm on social media as Stephanie Intuitive Channel. Don't Google my name because there's another intuitive channel named Stephanie Banks, actually. So do be aware of that. My website is soulinsight.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Click on one of the videos to continue your journey and don't forget to subscribe.